Hey y'all, it's Papa Ed. Welcome back to Sweet Leaves. Now I did this on a Twitch VOD. I did this on Twitch. And we have the VOD for it. Uh but I came to find out that it had crashed right after the scene with Nico and Red. So I have decided that I will finish up the story without doing it on Twitch because it's not there's not really a lot left in the uh not enough to really stream it. I mean there's still plenty of content left, don't get me wrong. And it's really good. So we're going to finish up the story, I think. So let's get right back on into it. Nico leaned out the hallway to watch Red walk down the sunlit corridor. The ferret strolled in a lackadaisical manner, only looking up from the floor when he passed an open classroom door. Even far from it, it was clear how lost he was in thought. Red paused at the far end of the hallway, where a set of double doors led outside. He placed a hand on one of the handles and let it rest there motionless. When the ferret did finally open the door several moments later, he did so at a snail's pace, and returned to looking down at his feet as he disappeared onto the sidewalk. Hmm. That evening, Colson dropped a bubbly Toby off at Joe's house, who raced up her driveway and right into her wings for a hearty squeeze. It wasn't just Toby who loved Burp Night, the name he bestowed upon their weekly hangout. It afforded the dads an evening to themselves, which they often took advantage of in the form of a date. For the past 6 years, Joe had lived 2 houses down the street from the Grangers in a 2-story house painted pastel yellow. The golden hue of its exterior was stuck out like a sore thumb against the homes around it. It was only one of the house's many intriguing features. Viewed through the floor-to-ceiling window from the street, Joe's living room could have easily been mistaken for a greenhouse. Her numerous houseplants scattered through every room of the house, even the bathrooms, provided the perfect backdrop for Toby's pretend jungle adventures. It was one of his favorite make-believe games, and the one they bonded over the most. The two had narrowly escaped from dozens of dungeons and death traps together. Joe had a penchant for making Toby laugh like no other with her pistaching antics. Oh, wow. And she was able to sate his ever-present curiosity with lessons on a wide variety of subjects. Toby had learned the twist from Joe a couple weeks prior, as they cut a rug to 1960s music played on vinyl. Tonight, in addition to ensuring Toby remembered the twist, Joe's curriculum included a dance all the way back from the 1910s, the foxtrot. Okay, last 2 steps and we'll do it all over again. Quick step to the left with your left foot, then move your right foot to the side of your left one. Ready? Joe held Toby's hand and led him to the steps. The talons of her feet clicked on the hardwood floor, which added additional percussion to the upbeat music coming from the turntable. Good, good. All right, let's try it from the beginning. We're going to go slow, though, so just ignore the music for right now. The parrot and Tanuki moved through each of the 8 total steps of the dance together. But Toby made a mistake on the final 2 by going in the wrong direction. I messed up. It's no big deal. I mess up all the time, too. Come on, let's try it again. On the second attempt, with Joe verbally reminding Toby of the last 2 steps prior to executing them, They made it all the way through the dance with 0 mistakes. Hey, you got it! Nice! Ooh! Want to try it a little bit faster now? Yeah! Joe gradually increased the speed of the dance until the pair were moving in time with the up-tempo music. Yeah, you got it, little dude! After they ran through the steps of the dance several times at full speed, Joe leaned away from Toby and began slicing her wings through the air at shoulder level. Her flexible neck jerked rhythmically in random directions, and her large feet alternatingly slapped against the floor. The crest of feathers atop her head fanned out in a rippling wave. Bring it back, get funky, Bring it back, get funky. Toby, get funky. Toby did his best to parrot Joe's movements, which proved impossible at times due to his neck not being able to rotate nearly 180 degrees. The limitation did not, however, interfere with his ability to get funky! Get funky! Oh! The two danced their improvised not trot until the end of the record, at which point Joe flipped the turntable off and gave Toby a fist bump. His tail swished in a lively manner as they detonated their fists, pulling their hands back with fingers and feathers extending and waggling. You're getting pretty good, you know. You picked this one up pretty fast. A lot faster than I did when my mom taught me. Was your mom a good dancer too? Yeah, for a little bit. Toby tilted his head curiously as Joe patted his shoulder and gestured towards the kitchen with her other wing, abruptly transitioning away from the topic. You hungry? Ready for me to go make dinner? Uh-huh. It still boggles my mind that you like stir-fry. Even if you're really picky about the vegetable used, you couldn't pay me to eat anything other than pasta when I was a kid. I was a hardcore pastatarian. A pasta what? It means I ate pasta for, every meal, practically. You wouldn't believe how much mac and cheese I ate, or ravioli, or SpaghettiOs. SpaghettiOs. God damn. Oh. Joe clapped her wing over her beak in a flash. I mean, gosh darn, would I love some SpaghettiOs? You wouldn't tell your dads if I cussed on accident, right? That square jar is just bleeding me dry. I won't tattle on you. Phew, thanks, little dude. All right, sit tight while I get cooking. Maybe see if I can't beat that lava world in your game. It's really hard. I don't think I can. Oh, sure you can. Just gotta keep at it. Like you keep at dancing. As Joe left for the kitchen, Toby sat on the couch and pulled his gaming console from his backpack. He then played for 20 minutes of stir-fry preparation time, getting further into battle with the troublesome boss that he'd ever had previously. Dinner's ready! Joe interrupted the Tanuki's epic virtual skirmish by emerging from the kitchen, carrying a silver tray with their meal and silverware. As Joe sat the tray on the coffee table, Toby hungrily leapt off the couch, forgetting to pause the game. It led to the familiar guffaw of the Spectre King, who was victorious once more. Those darn third-form bosses. Getting to sit on the floor while eating was a real treat for Toby. Joe had told him about her trips to Japan, where she knelt on a tatami mat to eat from a low table. She taught him to clap his paws together, give a small bow of his chin, and say, oh boy, Itadakimasu? Itadakimasu? Before digging in. The whole ritual turned dinner time from ordinary to exciting, and Toby was always eager to repeat it before every meal the two shared at Joe's home. The cockatoo looked at the boy with a prompting bob of her head. The tanuki smacked his palms together in front of him and sharply returned Joe's nod. Itadakimasu! Itadakimasu! Toby ferociously attacked his plate with a fork, as he chewed through his oversized bites. The dark furred tip of his tail dabbed against the shag rug they sat on. I guess it's pretty good then. Toby vigorously nodded up at Joe while he continued chewing. Then it's time to learn a new word. We're doing Dutch, or Netherlands, this week. Ready? Toby bobbed his head in affirmation, his posture and his ears more alert, primed to absorb the incoming info. He finally swallowed the gargantuan bites he took at the start of the meal. When food or drink is yummy, you call it lekker. This stir-fry's pretty lekker. Uh-huh. It's real lekker. You can also say something lekker by waving your hand next to your ear. It's called the lekker wave. Like this. Why does that mean yummy? Doesn't make sense. Your taste buds aren't even in your ears. They sure aren't. I guess you'd have to ask a Dutch person why they can hear tasty and we can't. Oh, what's yummy in Hawaiian? Joe's crest lowered in response to the question, her eyes following suit momentarily. The Tanuki would frequently request to know words in Hawaiian, regardless of what language du jour was. It was where his mother Hana had been born and raised, and he held an insatiable curiosity about it. Joe had Hana to thank for the inspiration to learn Hawaiian. Language number 5 for the parrot, conversational and counting. So she usually had an answer at the ready. It's ono. Super easy one, yeah? Yeah. Hawaiian's usually hard. Totes. Joe saw much of Hannah and Toby, in his mannerisms, in his face, and especially the way their tails moved when they were happy. It was moving that way now. Huh? Want to know something I just remembered about your mom? Uh-huh. Anytime she wanted your dad to do something like mow the lawn or do the laundry, you just ask him all sweetly in Hawaiian. Always worked like a charm. He even worked on stuff he really didn't want to do, like changing your diapers. All it'd take was one olu olu to do him in. What's Ialu that word mean? It means please. Whoa, that's a lot of words for please. Why is there so many? Right? That's Hawaiian for you, though. Please is a hard one, though. So we'll try saving that one to remember. So we'll save trying to remember that one for later. Let's just learn anu for now. Or ano for now. Okay, the stir fries ano and lekker. Sure is. And I apologize, Bobby. I know you're listening. So I totally butchered Hawaiian. Joe spent the rest of their meal peppering various Dutch words and phrases into the conversation, always making sure to loop back and mention them again to reinforce Toby's retention. It was great fun for the boy, who got a thrill out of remembering any foreign word. To him, it felt like solving a puzzle in a video game. Joe only added the experience by chirping out success chimes in a game-like manner whenever Toby correctly recalled something. After they finished eating, Joe took the dishes into the kitchen. When she noticed the time on the microwave, she called out to Toby. Hey, you want to put on your Kigo now? Only 1 more hour till bedtime. What's bedtime? Dutch for bedtime. Oh, okay. Joe continued to clean the kitchen for another few minutes. After she started the dishwasher, she returned to the living room and... Eek! Thanks to the sound of the dishwasher, Joe hadn't noticed the suddenly dino-fied Tanuki sneaking up on her. Toby raised up on his toes and gave Joe the best toothy snarl, his claws wiggling at the parrot in a menacing fashion. I'm gonna eat ya! Joe played along, acting frightened. She lifted one of her knees towards her chest and held up her foot in front of herself to keep the prehistoric apex predator at bay. But, but, I don't taste good. I'm all tough and chewy. Please don't eat me, Mr. Dinosaur. Toby relinquished the aggressive dinosaur persona immediately. The magic word had been used. Okay, since you said please, I won't. Joe pretended to wipe the sweat off in her brow in relief. Whew, another bullet dodged. Not eating me or tattling on me. You're the best, little Rex. As the pair settled onto the couch to wind down for the rest of the evening, Joe took her phone out of her pocket and set it on the coffee table. Toby caught a brief glimpse of the phone's wallpaper, a selfie of Joe and her girlfriend, Peach. He'd only ever seen her in photos. Can I finally meet Peach now? Yeah, sure. Why couldn't I before? Well, it's pretty normal for young parrots like me and Peach to date a number of people before choosing someone to be with for the rest of our lives. I wasn't trying to hide her from you or anything, but I wasn't sure if she'd want to stay with me until recently. I didn't want you to meet her and be all excited to have a new friend, then have her just up and leave a little while later. Remember how sad you were when Zach had to go back to Australia? The mere mention of his best friend's name made Toby's ears wilt. It had been months since he'd left, but the sting of his absence still lingered whenever he was mentioned. Yeah. Joe placed a wing on Toby's knee and patted it reassuringly. We've both said the L word to each other, though, so hopefully that means she isn't going anywhere for a long while. I'll ask her when a good time to meet you is, okay? Okay. Do you think she'll like me? Oh, heck yeah. You're such a cool kid that there's no way she won't like you. She might enjoy a more chill hangout than you and me, though. Like listening to music or watching old game shows. I don't think she'd want to play The Floor is Lava. But that's a really fun game. Right? She's totally missing out. I'm sure she'll dance with us, though. She likes dancing, too. Does she know the foxtrot? She had the same teacher as you did. What you think? Then yeah. Yep. Though she's a much better dancer than I am. She's an artist. I just do it to look cool. The parrot engaged in some over-the-top theatrics by slicking a wing through her crest, puffing her chest out and rocking her hips in her seat. Her head and body jerked erratically. It looked more like a feathered eel electroconvulsing than dancing. See? Cool. Is that new guidance counselor still staying at your place? Red, right? Uh-huh. He's nice. He likes Ms. Pac-Man and Zima. Joe blinked and did a double take. Now, that is one random combination of things to answer that question with. And he's really sad about missing home in his car accident. He was in a car accident? Uh-huh. All the windows broke. And that's how he got his cool scar on his cheek. Oh. Well, let's not tell anyone else, okay? We should let Red decide if he wants to tell other people about that. Let's not gossip about him. What's gossip mean? It means to talk about someone when they aren't with you. And that's me? Depends on what you say. But a lot of time it's not very nice, no. Oh. I won't do it again. I don't want to be mean. Joe shook her head and patted Toby on the shoulder. You're good. I can't imagine you ever being mean on purpose anyway. I think heck, we'll freeze over before that happens. I said I wouldn't tattle. Sorry, I'm practicing for when I'm around your dads. They upped the amounts for the swear jar. The F word is $4 forkin' bucks now. Whoa, that's a lot, right? Joe leaned forward to grab a remote from the coffee table before flipping the TV on. She knew the answer to her next question already, but asked anyway. All right, you Mesozoic thing. Do you want to watch some rectangle dogs before bed? Rectangle dogs. Yeah. They both started singing the theme song of the cartoon the moment Joe fired up the episode. It also served as a perfect nightcap. Rectangle dogs. Later that same evening, the Grangers' husbands found themselves in bed after Sebastian came home several hours later than he normally would, and in a noticeably sour mood. Typically, their conversation and demeanor in the bedroom was lighthearted and playful, but that was certainly not the case this evening. Sebastian laid flat on his back, his eyes transfixed to a spot on the ceiling. Coulson, sitting upright with his back against the headboard, read the papers delivered to the Badger earlier in the day. Wow, you weren't kidding. This is not a trivial amount. Apparently, she thought a ton of 30-year bonds and a couple years before her death, with the intent to dole them out when they matured. She never told anyone about it. Not even me. She used to tell me everything. Their work now wipes out the loan I had to take out for the bakery. It basically saves Badger cakes. Both of you and your dad to sign the same paper to get your payouts? Yeah, except I'm pretty sure my mom would need to sign instead of him because of his dementia. Graham wrote in her will that we had to have it notarized in the same physical location at the same time, too. She's trying to force us together for some reason. I don't know why she would have done that. She knew I hated being in a room adjacent to him, let alone the same one. For years after I came out, he tolerated my presence by pretending I was mostly invisible. Kept the peace for the rest of the family, but for me, I don't think I could ever forgive him for that, under any circumstances. He doesn't deserve it, and he never will. After folding the papers and placing them back in their envelope, Coulson set them on the nightstand and turned back to his husband. What are you going to do now? Well, I don't really have a choice, do I? Either I'm petty and make my mom and dad go homeless, or I sign the papers, pay off my debt, and just deal with my stupid emotions after. Hey, now. After removing his glasses, the Tanuki lowered his head to affectionately run his nose along the length of Sebastian's cheek, marking. After what you went through growing up, how you feel is completely understandable. Your emotions aren't stupid, man. I don't know. My signature has zero symbolic meaning if my dad's mind is gone as she says it is. That's why it's dumb for me to feel so upset about it. I'm having a really hard time not being angry over being forced to do it. I hate being this mad. I was mad all evening. I'm still mad. It's like I can't stop. Sebastian's voice trailed off before another defeated sigh escaped him, and he turned his head away from Coulson. I don't feel like myself at all. I hate that even more than being mad. In a tender motion, the Tanuki placed a hand on Sebastian's cheek and turned his head back to face him. Coulson gave him a gentle, encouraging smile as he combed his thumbs through the Badger's cheek fur all the way up to the tips. I'm here for whatever you need, okay? Even if you just need someone to sit and be mad with. Thanks, son. As Coulson slipped under the covers beside Sebastian, the Badger reached out and ran his fingers through his husband's golden beard, returning the gesture of affection. Coulson closed his eyes and jutted his chin towards Sebastian, his face melting into a blissful smile as a canine purr rose from his throat. One of the pair's favorite ways to display affection for one another was running their fingers through each other's fur or beard. Joe taught them that there was a Portuguese word for the act, cafume. Two of them only engaged in the practice more after learning this fact, perhaps so that they'd have an excuse to use the word more often, which is admittedly quite fun to say. As Sebastian's hands withdrew after finishing the last few strokes through his husband's beard, Coulson pinched both of the badger's cheek and pulled them in and out from his face, as if playing an accordion. Squidgy, squidgy, squidge. Sebastian tried fighting back an encouraging grin, but one can only stave off the effects of the squidgies for so long, and the badger eventually cracked. God, you're such a dork, Sunflower. Feel any better? A little. Yeah, thanks. Of course, my pastry paramour. Oh, good lord. I thought you crossed that one off the list. Actually, it's kind of growing on me. You know me. I'm an amateur avid alliteration appreciator. Your ability to say that so fast is a little scary. What can I say? I get lots of practice from being Mr. Ohio. Want my tail to cut up with tonight? Yes, please. So sweet. Sebastian turned on his side so the two could spoon up to one another. The tanuki's lengthy tail laid up and over his hip, leaving the brown-tipped, fluffy appendage resting against the badger's belly and lower chest. Sebastian combed his fingers through his thick fur and then hugged it against his front as if clutching a teddy bear. Coulson called out the smart speakers sitting on the nightstand behind him. Good night, Siggy. Turning off master bedroom lights. Sleep well, Mr. and Mrs. Granger. I can't talk. After the lights turned off, the sound of rain falling on the car's roof began to play through the speaker. Love you, sweetheart. Love you too, huh? Night. So sweet. After the first couple of days of school, the rest of Red's week went by. He hadn't interacted with students much, though. Instead, he spent most of his time learning about procedures, responsibilities, and fighting with the near-decade-old desktop computer he had been given. Overall, though, his experience had largely been a positive one, especially with respect to fellow faculty. Everyone was friendly and welcoming to the new guy in town. On the last day of the week, Fred finally received a phone call from his new landlord. His home was ready to move into. They'd also moved a few packages he had ordered inside the door. After school, the ferret grabbed his things from the Granger's guest unit and profusely thanked Coulson and Sebastian for their hospitality. He planned on walking from their house to his new place, even with his suitcase in tow, but Coulson insisted on driving him. Red acquiesced, so long as he could sit behind the driver's seat. Located at the end of a set of residential streets on the northwest side of town, it was dwarfed in size by all of the homes around it, which was surprisingly given that there was a true tiny house. Barely 300 square feet of new construction, its thinly rectangular shape was built on natural cedar and had multiple sets of square windows trimmed with black sills. It sat atop a trailer bed, with 3 wooden stairs leading up to its diminutive square porch. A note taped to the front door by the landlord said, "Welcome home, Mr. Ellsworth." When Red entered the house, he was first struck by how far it seemed to stretch, giving it to the feel of a tall, open hallway. It seemed like a TARDIS, bigger on the inside. He climbed the tight wooden staircase to the loft area, where a queen mattress sat directly on the floor sans any bed frame. Few pillows lay on the head of the mattress. One read "Home Sweet Home," another "Live like every other day is your last," and the third "Sweet Dreams," all written in overly curly decorative script. They were quickly and permanently banished to the cramped storage cabinet in the loft. Red went back downstairs to the small collection of boxes leaned up against the front of the kitchen cabinetry, full of various things he ordered for his new house. The only pieces of furniture he had bought since the house came mostly pre-furnished were a nightstand and a coffee table, both appropriately tiny themselves. The place also came pre-stocked with cookware and utensils, which was an added bonus. Red had been hoping to prepare meals at home again. It was something he hadn't done in many months, even getting takeout every single day. After opening the coffee table's box, the ferret dragged it towards the couch and sat down. He glanced over the assembly instructions inside, quickly noticing they referenced tools that weren't included in the package. Red hadn't purchased any tools, though. There was no way it was getting put together that night, which greatly irritated him. He was itching to get fully settled after his long stint in a tiny guest house. With a listless sigh under his breath, Red limp-noodled on the comfortable cushions of the couch. He sat motionless for a moment before pricking with a thought. The ferret pulled his phone out and texted Nico, whose number he'd obtained because the guidance counselor, like the principal, had contact numbers for all teachers with after-school activities. The bear must have had his phone already in hand, as his reply to Red's request to borrow a toolkit came only a few seconds later. He also happened to have some time to bring it over right then. When Nico asked him for his address, Red almost started typing out his San Diego one out of habit. He had to look at the shipping label on the box for his new one. His fingers felt a line. Oh, alien! The word is alien. His fingers felt alien as he typed it out. Nico prompt reply said he'd be there in just 5 minutes. From his phone, the proximity of the opposite wall suddenly felt all more apparent. The place was nothing like the open architecture of his house back home. It was yet another disparity in a sea of opposites between his old life and the new one. Though that was the point. True to his ETA, Nico arrived 5 minutes later with toolkit in tow. When you said you were moving into a tiny house, I thought you just meant like normal tiny, not tiny. This thing really big enough to live in? Yeah, I'm a pretty small guy, plus the only other rentals in Pinecrest were either rundown or 3 bedrooms, too big for me. There were some apartments over in Cedarville, but I don't want to drive a car, so... Anyway, come on in. Nico had to duck his head to fit through the entryway, and once inside, the towering bear made the mistake of standing completely upright. Percussive smack of forehead to wood reverberated through the house as Nico banged his head against a rack mounted above the doorframe. Oh, damn it! Oh my gosh, are you okay? Nico briskly rubbed his hand over his tender bump as he searched for any additional threats that might be lurking overhead. Ugh. Clearly this thing wasn't built with bears in mind. You might want to invest in one of those low clearance signs for taller visitors. Sorry I didn't warn you beforehand, but I have zero concept of what it's like to be tall. I didn't even know that thing was up there until you hit it. Well, you're welcome. Hope you find a use for it now. Oh, I'm sure I'll find something to put up there. Not exactly a lot of storage here. Nico shut the front door and set his toolkit down on the kitchen counter, taking a gander at the inside of the place. He noticed the dining table and seats built into the wall, and hooked a claw into the notch that pulled the table out. You mind? Go ahead and look around as much as you like. Nico pulled the table from the wall till it was fully extended, and then pushed it back in, admiring how perfectly it fit into its slot. Huh, ain't that something? The bear paced the length of the unit, pausing to investigate things in greater detail here and there. I've seen these tiny house things online, pictures and walkthroughs and stuff, but I've never actually been in one. Nicer than I expected. I guess the bed's up there in that loft. Looks like it might be pretty tight up in there, huh? Yeah, the mattress is just sitting on the floor, too. You'd hit your head on the ceiling if there was a bed frame. Nico turned his attention back to the main room as he put his hands on his hips. He tilted his head to the side as his eyes searched over the area. Hey, where's the rest of your stuff? Ain't you got any more boxes? No, you're looking at most of what I own now. I sold almost everything I had before the move. Well, I put a few things in storage, but I don't know if I'll ever go back to get them. Why's that? Having those things here would just keep a part of me back home, and I wanted a fresh start. The ferret remained quiet for a moment before clearing his throat. He flashed Nico a polite smile as he gestured to the bear's toolkit sitting on the counter. Anyway, could I grab an Allen wrench and a flathead screwdriver? Yeah, of course. You want help putting stuff together? Sure. Good. I kinda love putting furniture together. Adult Legos. Well, if you don't mind, I can just put the entire thing together for you. Oh, if you really want to, be my guest. The delighted bear grabbed his tools and knelt on the floor. He neatly organized all the coffee table's parts into small piles, and then began assembling it without taking even a single glance at the instructions. Putting together furniture is actually one of my least favorite things in life. Top 10 hates. Top 10, huh? It's pretty high up there. There's a story behind that? Yes. I had a friend in San Diego named Travis. Okay. Who would move every single year and refresh his entire apartment with new IKEA furniture each time. Not our Travis, thankfully. We had this friend code with one another that said you always had to do certain things, like take them to the airport or help them move. He extended that to including putting furniture together, since he considered it part of his move. Sounds like gaming the system a bit. Red clapped his hands together and then turned his palms up. Yes, thank you. It absolutely was. I've seen enough lots for a lifetime. You didn't push back or nothing? Nah, I just got even. He's even less of a morning person than I am, so I made sure to book 6 a.m. flights so he'd have to take me to the airport at 4 in the morning all the time. Ain't you just punishing yourself? Punish him at that point, though? Probably. Would I do it again, though? Absolutely. Nico had zoomed through the table's construction during their short conversation, moving deftly through each step as though he'd put together this exact model before. Jeez, how are you so fast? I'd still be on step 2. I really like adult Legos. Mere seconds after he finished with the table, the bear was already eyeing the nightstand box a few feet away, as if it were a shining piece of candy. He pointed at it and then looked at Red, his eagerness apparent by his rounded ears swiveling atop his head. Nightstand next? Red couldn't help but chuckle at the bear's enthusiasm, nodding his head. Nico tore into it eagerly. He repeated his previous process of laying out all the pieces in front of himself, neatly organized in the order he'd be reaching for them. Sorry, I should have asked you earlier. You want anything to drink? Oh, right. All I have is bottled water. I need to go shopping still. Bottled water's just fine, thanks. While Red went to the refrigerator, Nico began assembling the nightstand. So, how you liking it so far? It's been fine. Everyone's been really kind, especially at school. When I told one of my friends I was moving here, he brought up Minnesota. Nice. Minnesota, nice. It's checked out so far. What? We got a reputation for being nice up here or something? Yeah, apparently it's a thing according to the internet. It's not like people in San Diego are mean or anything, but I can't say they're as outwardly nice as they seem to be here. Not a bad thing to get a rep for, I'll take it. After sipping from the water bottle Red brought him, Nico returned to working on the nightstand, as though he were being timed, and a water break had just set him back a couple seconds. Even racing against himself, brow furrowed in concentration, the gregarious bear still found the capacity for small talk. How you handling the whole rural versus urban thing? It's definitely an adjustment. One I think will take a long time to get used to. Pinecrest couldn't be any more different than where I came from. Reading about small-time America and watching romanticized version of it on TV doesn't exactly prepare you for the reality of it. I'll bet. The schools I worked at back in San Diego were both huge, like 5 times the size of Pinecrest. I was one of the 3 guidance counselors at the time. The thing that boggles my mind is that everyone here seemed to remember who I was after only a day or 2. Back home, I still had people asking me what my name was in 2nd semester. Here, everyone says good morning to me like they've known me for years. It took me ages to achieve regular status at my old coffee shop, but the cute barista at Beans remembered both my name and my order after only 3 visits. A smirk began rapidly forming on Nico's face. You think Josh is cute, huh? Red blinked in confusion before he connected the dots, realizing he'd just accidentally outed himself. Oh, I mean, yeah, kinda. Hate to burst your bubble, but the man's straight. For a small town, we got an unusually high percentage of queer folk, but he ain't one of them. It's okay. I'm not looking for a relationship or anything right now, anyway. Fair warning. If Colson or Sebastian find out you're gay and single, make sure to tell them you're off the market. Those 2 are obsessed with playing Cupid. Seriously, they're crazy. I hadn't figured out I was gay for more than 10 minutes before they were already flipping through their contacts for a match. Red tilted his head to one side while his brows shot upwards. You're gay? What? That surprised you? Yeah, you didn't set off my gaydar at all. Well, I'm still new gay. Maybe I need more time to incubate before I can be detected. Red laughed as Nico finished setting the last screw into the nightstand, flipping it over and standing it upright. The bear gestured to it with open palms. Ta-da! Looks great! Anything else you need? No, I think that's it for adult Legos. Thanks for, playing? Nico chuckled as he returned the screwdriver to his toolkit and locked his plastic tabs in place with a click. He set it aside and took another sip from his water bottle. Feel free to call me if you ever need a master builder. I'm just down the road. Thanks. Appreciate it. The bear noisily tapped his claws on the hard plastic of the toolkit and looked plainly at Red. Hey, can I say something? Sure. Nico slipped into the quieter voice he'd used earlier. I know what a lonely person looks like, Red. I stared at one in the mirror for a long time. I see it in your face when you go on your walks after school. You ate lunch alone in your office 4 out of 5 days this week, despite having invites from others. Whatever you realize, whether you realize it or not, you're isolating yourself. It's just gonna make you feel even more alone. Red had initially begun listening to Nico, while looking directly in his dark amber eyes. Every correct observation and statement the bear made forced his gaze away bit by bit. The ferret's ears flattened as his crestfallen eyes focused on the wood underpaw. It's pretty brave to do a move like yours, you know. Starting all over so far away from home. I had to do that as a kid. I was pretty damn lonely too. And I wouldn't want anyone to have to go through that by themselves. Joe and the guys wouldn't either. We'd happily have you over for things, give you some company. Being around some friendly people would do you a world of good, even if you're not feeling all that social. Pam's got a fun thing coming up soon. Seb's trying to start a bunch of traditions, one of them being a get-together at their place for the first day of every season. I think it's a good excuse for him to make some fancy dessert for everyone, though. Sebastian's crazy about cooking for other people. You'd be doing him a favor just by showing up. Nico rested his thick palm over Red's knee and leaned in closer to him, his honeyed tone of voice making another return. It's coming up in a few days. Please come. The ferret timidly lifted his head, his eyes gradually rising to meet Nico's. When he saw the warmth in them, he let slip a little smile. Okay. Good. Sebastian will be over the moon having someone else to spoil with dessert. Toby will be excited too. He's been asking all kinds of questions about California since you got here. He'd probably love hearing about you talk about San Diego. He really likes you. That's flattering. He's a great kid. The greatest. Red hugged his knees to his chest as he leaned back against the couch. Hey, can I ask you something now? Yeah. Why are you so intent on helping me? In response, the bear simply rolled his shoulders. Guess I'm just Minnesota nice. Nico rose to his feet, toolkit in hand, and bobbed his chin at Red as he pointed a thumb over his shoulder. Hope it's okay to Lego and run. But I gotta go play games with Gabe. He'll be spicy with me if I'm late. Who's Gabe? Oh, he's, I guess you could say he's my crush. I'm still working up the courage to ask him out. Oh, well, have fun. I hope it works out when you eventually ask him. As Nico approached the door, Red urgently reminded him that he'd noticed the rack above the doorframe a second time around. Had not noticed the rack above the doorframe a second time around, the bear pointed at it with pure contempt in his eyes. I would have totally hit it again. It's like the thing is camouflaged. I'll see you around soon. Don't be a stranger, all right? I'll try. Thanks. Nico flashed a peace sign over his shoulder as he exited the house. Once in his truck, the bear bobbed his head towards the ferret standing in the doorway. Have a good evening, Red. You too. Red stood in the doorway and silently watched the bear's old beat-up pickup drive down the narrowly country road until it disappeared from sight. Oh. It's very sweet. Nico is very sweet. I love Nico. As the ferret closed the door behind himself, he put his hands on his hips for a moment, and then returned to the business of opening the rest of the stuff he'd bought. The task was solitary, but for the moment, it was not a lonely one. In the time leading up to the solstice, Red experienced mostly uneventful days. He'd been getting used to his new routine, at least as far as his professional life was concerned. The adjustment to the town and his personal life, however, was still very much a work in progress. Even though part of Red's brain had attempted to keep him from attending the Grangers' get-together by inventing an excuse not to go, he kept to his word and went. Nico's gentle insistence throughout the previous few days certainly had a hand in that. They all assembled in the Granger's backyard, where they had erected a tent in the grass, filled with soft blankets and pillows. A small campfire stove, whose flame danced beneath a Dutch oven, kept an original Badger Cape's dessert, a s'mores tart, warm and gooey. It made sense to commemorate the start of fall with such a treat. Sebastian had come up with the recipe when inclement weather had canceled an autumn camping trip between Toby and Nico earlier in the year. The look of pure heartache on Toby's face when he learned he would be missing out on the marshmallowy, chocolatey goodness that sprung the baker into action. No more than 2 hours after the trip's cancellation was the boy vibrating with a sugar high from a newly minted recipe. It was just as good as the real thing, minus the campfire. The beautifully presented dish, with its dollops of toasted meringue and caramel drizzle, was an instant hit with the family. It was almost a crime to eat the thing, the work of art that it was. Sebastian gently insisted that a bit of every layer end up on Red's fork before he took a bite. Graham cracker crust, dark chocolate filling, and meringue. Red paused after he swallowed, dumbfounded. Wow, that's really good. Thanks. It's my quest to give you a sweet tooth off to a good start. It's not like I'll turn down dessert when it's given to me. But I don't usually crave it. You still got your work cut out for you. I like a challenge. Come by the bakery sometime, and I'll convert you a little more. First cupcakes on the house. You're pretty serious about this, huh? Like I said before, you threw down the gauntlet, Red. He's not going to stop until you're carrying a Badger Cakes reward card in your wallet. BOGO every 10th cupcake. It's practically a steal. You know you want to. What is this, a commercial? The Badger laughed and put his palms up in front of himself. All right, I'll stop. For now. With the return of autumn came the re-emergence of Perma Kigu Toby. When the weather began turning colder at night, you'd never see him without one. Is the cart good, little Dino Leaf? The boy nodded and put his hand on the side of his ear, waving it back and forth. His mouth was too full of a gargantuan bite that he'd been working on to answer verbally. What was that? It means lekker. And what's lekker mean? Tasty. It's Dutch. But why would you be waving your hand next to your ear to mean tasty, I wonder? Your taste buds are in your mouth. That's what I said. Yeah, great job, little dude. Coulson ruffled his son's hair and leaned in to affectionately bump his nose off Toby's cheek, which made the dinosaur's tail wag. Nico finished off his plate, and then pointed to the rest of the tart with his fork while making direct eye contact with Red. If you don't want your seconds, I'll happily take them off your hands, Red. Joe promptly tapped Red's arm. Nah. Let me rocambeau him for it, dude. Oh, I see. Yeah. Best of 3. Or it'd be for me to get in the way of a game of rock, paper, scissors. Rocambeau. Nico sharply huffed. That ain't fair. I always lose. You might as well just give it to her now. Hey, you won once. Don't be so hard on yourself, big guy. Once. What's the record stand at? 22-1. It's psychotic to keep track of that, by the way. I know, right? Parents remember everything, especially the most important things in life, of which this is definitely one. Square up, buddy. The air grew thick with tension as the bear and the parrot began to throw down, counting to 3 and tossing their chosen sign. Nico opened with his usual rock, which, naturally, meant Joe opened with her usual paper. You know, you always throw rock first, right? You'll forget I told you this and do it next time too? Oh, wait. You know you always throw rock first. You'll forget I told you this and do it next time too. The next round saw Nico in defeat as well. He banked on scissors winning, since he felt like he didn't throw it very often. Joe countered perfectly with rock. Nico gestured at the parrot with exasperation. See? Joe took Nico's plate and fork before placing a second slice of the tart onto it, which she then passed back to him. Pity dessert? Really? Do you not want it? I didn't say that. Next time, I'm keeping it though. Seriously, stop throwing rock first. It's good advice. I'm going to forget. I know. Love you, Bear. Yeah. A moment too long passed for Toby, and the little Nook insistently nudged Nico with a paw. You gotta say it back. Oh, right. Sorry. Love you too, dinosaur. Which one? There are two here. The one that's descended from dinosaurs, not the cute one. Ouch! That was cute. Nico grinned and waggled his eyebrows as he dug into his second helping of tart. A breeze kicked up, making Red shiver and hug his arms around his chest, something Nico took quick notice of. You cold? Yeah, breeze is kind of chilly. I should have brought my jacket. It's crazy how it's technically still summer. It's already getting as cold here as it does in the dead of winter back from where I'm from. Wait, what's cold for San Diego? Anything under 60? As somebody from the Midwest. Anyway, a dead silence fell over the group. Oh no. What? Is that bad? Nico clapped a hand across the back of Red's shoulder, while Joe gingerly rested a wing atop the ferret's arm in consolation. It was nice knowing you, Red. Yeah. What should Sebastian serve at your wake? You remember that scene from The Shining, where Jack's frozen solid with his eyes rolled up in his head? Nico perfectly recreated the pose. Joe looked at Red while pointing a thumb at the bear, as if they were performing a rehearsed bit. That's you. In January. The average high is below 30, or below 20. Average low? Below 0. Red sank into his shirt beneath the looming shadows of the bear and parrot. Coulson tutted at the duo. Oh, behave, you two. You're scaring the poor guy. You'll be fine, Red, so long as you have a good winter jacket. And hey, if you want any help finding a dapper one, I know a guy. Don't ferrets get thicker fur in the winter? They do, but I barely noticed any difference back home now that I think about it. Maybe it doesn't get cold enough there to really make it come in. You do have lovely fur markings. They'd look quite handsome with a thicker coat, I think. Oh, gosh, thanks. I guess we'll find out in a few months. Maybe I'll be fluffier than I've ever been. Joe made a clicking noise with her beak in Sebastian's direction. Flirt with the new guy harder, why don't you? What? I'm not flirting. A guy can say another guy's fur is handsome without it meaning anything more, Joe. And besides, I would never flirt with one of my husband's coworkers anyway. Hey, you flirted with me at your wedding. Telling you that you look hot in your tuxedo was not flirting, Nico. That was the objective truth. You slayed, King. You really did. Yeah, I know. That's why I like Nico. Coulson placed his empty plate aside, wiped his hands on a napkin, and then clapped them together. So, shall we continue our season in review thingy like we've been doing? Toby's hands shot up in the air as if he were in class. Ooh, can I go first? Sure. What was your favorite thing about summer this year, kiddo? The place with all the water slides and boats and go-karts in Wisconsin. That was a fun vacation, wasn't it? And next time we go back, you'll probably be tall enough to ride more of the rides. Yeah, I'm going to ride the big ones and drive a go-kart next time. We better wait a few years to go back if you want to drive the cart. It'll be a while until you're grown up enough to do that. No! I want to go back next year. Well, then you're just going to have to sit in the passenger seat and put up with my slow dad driving again. You do drive like a dad. Literally and stereotypically. Hey now, safety first, of course, but I tear it up in our minivan when I'm only on one in it. That thing's got surprisingly good cornering. Honey, please do not put our minivan. Don't drive our minivan like it's the tiny sports car with the bootleg engine you had in college. Pouting as Toby would, Colson stuck his tongue out at his husband. Oh, you're no fun. Besides making fun of Colson's driving. Want to know what my favorite thing this summer was? Was it winning the state championship in skee ball with your bestie? What? No. It was the time you made French toast, dude. Or the time you made French toast. Wait, no. Maybe it was the time you made French toast. I'm flattered that my cooking could somehow eclipse winning an award that says you're the best in the entire state at something. I'm kidding. Winning the doubles bracket with you at the state fair is definitely top of the list, but man, your French toast is such a close second that I need a microscope to see which is ahead. It's literally my favorite food in the entire world. It's a crime you don't make it more often. You really like it that much? Let's just say it's a good thing I don't have the recipe, because the grocery store would be permanently out of bread. Are you sure I can't buy it off you? Toby's entire college tuition for one little recipe is a pretty good trade, isn't it? You're never getting it, pretty bird. It's my life-bound recipe. Life-bound recipe? The heck does that mean? It's a secret recipe that only you and that you teach to no one. Oh, God, I can't read. It's a secret recipe that only you know and that you teach to no one. When you die, it dies with you. For my Gram, it was her butterscotch pecan bread pudding. For me, it's my French toast. No way! You're just going to deprive the world of that masterpiece when you kick it? That's why it's special. Limited time only. My soul is actively being crushed. Jill rolled over onto her back and let her tongue flop out of her beak. Her talon toes curled in as she groaned out a rattling breath. Ugh. Your commitment to bits is always impressive, Joe. The bird tilted her beak forward towards Coulson with the speed of a freshly minted zombie and hoarsely whispered to him, though loudly enough for everyone else to hear. Tell him I'll miraculously return from the dead if he gives me that recipe. Tell her I'll always remember her fondly. Joe decomposed. Brilliant. Brilliant. As the cockatoo was deep in the throes of culinary despair, Toby leaned across the blanket and tapped Sebastian's wrist to get his attention. What's up, little leaf? Can I have more, please? Sure can, sweetheart. Toby's tail shimmied with excitement as he watched another slice of his favorite dessert slide onto his plate. Bedankt. Is that thank you in Dutch? Uh-huh. I'm probably slaughtering that language, too. Forgive me. Sebastian beamed, but then noticed his son's glass of milk. A necessity for any warm dessert that involved chocolate was dangerously close to being empty. Oh, looks like you need a refill there. Sebastian rose to his feet to rummage in the cooler for the chilled carafe of milk. But the first bottle he came across definitely wasn't that. The badger could tell by the ribbed texture of the glass against his fingers. Pinching it by its slim neck, he lifted it from his cooler. Oh, I can't believe I almost forgot. We got something for you, Red. The badger turned back to the group and held the bottle out to the ferret, who recognized its azure cap and label instantly. Zima! Hope you like it. It was Toby's idea. Red stared wordlessly down at the bottle in his hand, tracing his thumb across the ridges of the side. He was having difficulty focusing on the label, and was suddenly very aware of how coarse his tongue felt in his mouth. Oh boy. It took 2 attempts for the ferret to successfully force a thin, polite smile onto his face. Thanks. This is very thoughtful of you guys. So, Red, how about you? How was your summer? You spent an awful lot of time in the patio with your mom and dad? The muscles above Red's brows began to tense before they started outright quivering. Oh boy. No. Oh. Oh. Oh boy. My favorite thing about this past summer was it's uh it's despite his best effort, Red couldn't stop a tear from streaking down his cheek, and then another, and another. A stunned silence fell over the group as Red began to sob so heavily that his shoulders shook. The ferret struggled to his feet while tears dripped from his jaw. He wiped the back of his wrist over his cheeks as he darted away from the family, his shoulders still noticeably trembling. I, I gotta go. I'm sorry, Red. We didn't mean to. I'm fine. I'm fine. Nico stood and called out to the ferret, whose sobs continued uninterrupted, even as its gait sped up. Hey, you at least want to ride back to your place? We don't have to talk or nothing. The only response from Red was a vigorous shake of his head. The Granger family fell silent until Red disappeared from view. Toby looked particularly upset, head lowered and ears drooped as tears welled in his own eyes. Did we do something bad? Oh, Toby. Oh boy. Well, Red began settling into bed after a long walk home. He had used his phone's flashlight to light the way into the dark on the dark roads. His thoughts had kept him well distracted, but it still took half the walk to calm his sobbing and hitched breathing. Sleep often came with great difficulty ever since the ferret arrived in Pinecrest. The first several nights after he moved into his new house, it had gotten even worse. This was where he lived now. This was where he's going to start over and move on. The thought alone kept him up at night. Red had been prescribed sleeping pills after the accident for persistent insomnia. That night he took 2. Oh boy. Oh? Red's ears rang as he suddenly came to, feeling as though he had been tossed in the clothes washer on maximum speed. He teetered on his feet and then fell over, tumbling onto a barren earth underfoot. Sitting up, he held a hand to the side of his head until his vision stopped spinning. His tinnitus, however, uncomfortably lingered for several moments longer. As if he were the Fonz banging his fist on a broken jukebox, Red hit the heel of his hand to the side of his head, and it worked. The ringing stopped. lifting his chin to take in his surroundings. He shivered, but not from the cold. Suddenly, he felt empty, emptier than in recent months, even hollow. Just as quickly as the feeling came, it passed. Red rose to his feet, craning his neck back up to look at the solitary, desiccated tree towering over the barren meadows surrounding it. Where the hell am I? He blinked as a realization crossed his mind. Oh, right. Sleeping pills. I'm dreaming. Red walked towards the tree, his paws kicking up clouds of loose earth along the way. He reached out to touch its trunk. The bark was rough and textured, feeling very much like the real thing. Oh. Red put his hands on his hips and stared up at the parched canopy overhead. The way the branches twisted with one another caught his eyes, and he followed a couple from base to leafless end. As he swiftly pulled out his prototypical mind wanderings by heavy footsteps approaching him from behind. Their owner let out a shrill chirping noise, which made the ferret coil like a spring before jumping nearly a foot in the air. Ah! As he whipped around, fur standing on end, the ferret came face to face with a mountainous wall of dense white fur. He had to fully extend his neck to see the entirety of the figure looming over him. What the hell? The creature's beady black eyes stared down at the ferret, examining him in great detail. Who are you, little animal? And do you know where we are? The ferret could only wordlessly stare slack-jawed at the bearish figure before him. They tilted their head first to one side and then to the other, their inky pebbles unmoving, fixed on his widening eyes all the while. Red's hand hitched towards to touch one of the towering legs in front of him. He gingerly panted at the dense ivory fur for another reality check. It, too, felt wholly authentic, just as everything else there had. Mimicking the ferret's motion, the alien-like Ursine lifted a colossal paw to pat the top of Red's head. They were clearly attempting to be gentle, but their paw's size and heft caused the ferret's spine to compress and rebound like a spring from each testing. Furious tap. From each testing, furious tap. It was a good thing Red had been born with a noodle for a backbone. Wispy appendages resembling LED strips sprouted and extended from the creature's head, with small bulbs of light traveling on their links like pulses of electricity on a wire. Oh, your fur is more coarse than I am imagining, but in a delightful manner. The being's voice delicately meandered up and down in pitch, their inflections oddly timed for common English. With a ground-shaking thump, the monstrosity sat back and rested their hands on their lap. I am meeting an actual animal. What a wondrous experience to have. Red closed his eyes and rubbed his hand to the side of his temple. Okay, this is definitely the craziest dream I ever had. You believe this to be a dream? Well, yeah. I mean, look at you. Bears in the real world don't usually have fiber optic cables growing out of their heads. As if on cue, the being's multicolored tendrils extended again as they hunched over towards Red. After a moment, they leaned back against the tree and planted their palms on the ground. The appendages gradually retracted as the beast's lustrous claws scratched against the dry, loose soil below. A resulting cloud of dust was carried away by the ever-present breeze. Whether the other exists is a matter of perspective, is it not? Consider that I am directly speaking to an animal. which is an impossibility for my kind. So perhaps it is you does not exist. Maybe you are in my dream. Or this is real somehow. It is great fun to wonder which is correct. They gleefully clapped their paws together several times in perfect sync with a melodious giggle before abruptly stopping, struck by a realization. Meeting an animal like you have not happening. No, have never happening before? Do you mean has never happened before? Ah, yes, yes. Meeting an animal has never happened before. Thank you for the lesson. I do apologize for my grammatical errors in your language. Using verb tenses has never happened before. As another realization dawned on the creature, they clapped their palms together again in a sharper, more percussive manner. Their ears lifted and danced in excited twitches, as if on marionette strings. Oh, this must be what it new feels like to an animal. Um, what? To us, things are always new, but they always old as well. But here, this feeling, it has never happened before. It is only new. I like only new. It is a strange but extraordinary experience. Only new is not being experienced by any of the other. In the middle of the creature's otherwise lilting and musical speech, a cacophonous barrage of hundreds of tones layered atop one another thundered from their maw. The wall of sound from the lowest bass to the highest treble created a powerful gust of air that slicked Red's fur back and made it shift his weight onto his heels. The being quickly realized their mistake, clamping their gargantuan paws over their muzzle before sheepishly speaking up from behind them. My apologies. Having to consider the limited hearing of animals has never happened before. I hope you are not broken. Red steadied himself against one of the oversized roots of the tree until disorienting haze lifted, and he was able to uncross his eyes. What, what the hell was that? That is the designation of my family. It contains the name of each individual spirit in our collective, stacked atop one another to create a near infinite number of harmonics. An animal cannot comfortably listen to it. Jeez, I can tell. It feels like you turned my brain into scrambled eggs. I harbor no desire to turn your brain into disarranged embryos. I am now reminding myself to only use English. The creatures slowly bowed their head in a regal manner before the ferret. Please accept my apology for hurting your ears. Aw. Alien as their features and mannerisms were, their remorse was readily apparent, as if they committed a grave offense. It's okay. You didn't mean to. The star-shaped marking on the being's forehead brightened like an incandescent bulb. As they shimmied their hips and lifted their chin, they closed their eyes. It looked as though they were basking in warm sunshine. Forgiveness feels wonderful. Thank you for the lesson. Yeah, sure. You're welcome. Can you tell me your name, little animal? It's Red. Red. That is my favorite color. What a delightful coincidence. And, what's your name? I believe I can reduce it to its fundamental tones for you so that we do not happen again. The scrambled embryo incident. The scrambled embryo incident. The bearish creature rose to its feet, standing tall, and calmly lowered their chin before becoming perfectly still. A second set of eyelids blinked horizontally across its inky eyes. They took a small breath and held it in. Wow. Wow. That was your name? All of that was your name? Yes. I gotta be honest. I don't think I could repeat that if my life depended on it. Is there, like, a shorter version of it? Maybe one that doesn't require any singing? It sounded so pretty, I wouldn't want to butcher it. Oh, thank you. I am pleased you enjoy my name, even so simplified. But no, there is no abbreviated form. To alter any part, it makes it gibberish. Yes, gibberish. Allow me to present an alternative. Is there an epithet in your language that you suggest instead? Epithet. Red thought it strange that the creature had such a weak grasp on verb tenses, and yet used a $20 word. Let me think for a second. The red had historically been awful at naming things. It had taken him an entire week to name his childhood goldfish. An answer came to it easily after a moment of stroking his chin and thought. Oh, I guess your name is what's called a melody. So how about that? Hmm, melody. Melody. They attempted to imitate Red's chin stroking, but awkwardly used both paws instead of one. The ferret had to stifle a snicker beneath his breath. Melody. There it is. I enjoy this moniker. Yes, I am now called Melody. All right, Melody. Can I ask you a question now? Of course. I am delighted to answer your inquiries. Okay. Most obvious, the first one. What exactly are you? After poorly mimicking Red's thinking stroke again, for a few moments, Melody spread their arms and turned their palms up. I am one of 299 individuals in a collection of spirits. We are the designers of all animal species found on planet Earth. I myself am the architect of animals like the red panda, badger, owl, raccoon, tanuki, lemur. I do so enjoy masks. An incredulous look spread across the ferret's face as he shifted his weight onto one foot. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on. Are you saying you made me? Not you, specifically, no. Only the blueprint. I believe animals call it of your species and its ancestors. So you're like a god then? Melody chortled and shook their head at the question. I suppose the answer depends on your definition. We are neither all powerful nor all knowing, and we have no moral authority. You certainly aren't what I pictured a god to look like, that's for sure. Oh, what is it you're imagining? Oh, I don't know. Maybe a different species or something. You look like a bear. Well, one with a lot of extra bits, anyway. I am very fond of bears. They are the only animals with no known architect, and yet they exist. I feel a strong connection to them. We have no architect? Oh, okay. Their forms are beautiful in a way I cannot describe. So, yes, I reshape my image so that I may live as one, assist in my mental well being. Oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, all right. Yeah, good for you, Melody. You reshaped your form? What did you look like before? You may find it unsettling. Are you certain you wish to see? Yeah, sure, it's not that bad. A brilliant flash of golden light discharged from the bear, forcing the ferret to squint and lift a hand to shield himself. Boo! The ferret reeled backwards and thumped back against the gnarled tree. What the frick? Before him now was what could only be described as an eldritch horror. Oh my goodness. An honest black, slimy spear with 2 rows of teeth floating 5 feet above the ground. Its tentacles loosely swayed from with the breeze. I am getting you. I do not actually look like this. Oh. Just as quickly as Melody had transformed into the disquieting creature, it reverted to its original bearish form with another flash of golden light. I am never before getting just. It is great fun. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, because that was nightmare fuel. Then my attempt at being frightening is successful. How fulfilling. To be truthful, in Earth's infancy, I am taking the form of a pygmy owl. But the bear's brows knit taut as they lifted their chin, gazing up at the darkened sky in contemplation. They listlessly blinked both sets of eyelids. I am not wishing to return to that shape. Oh, I'm sorry if I brought up some bad memories. No, it is all right. I am fine. Fine. The word rang as hollow coming from Melody as it did from Red. It is the nature of the Melody suddenly froze as their antenna shot out and straightened like hair being pulled by static electricity. I I think it is time to go now. Go what? Oh, into episode 1. Okay. Oh, here it is, everyone. The end of episode 1 of Sweet Leaves. Well, what did we think? We learned a bit more of what happened to Red. We don't know if he was driving though. I kind of think maybe, and it's kind of maybe reaching that he may have been drunk or something, and he blames himself for the accident or for the, his parents obviously dying. But yeah, oh boy, and Melody, oh my goodness, she's something else, or they're something else. They are something else. That's gonna be it, guys. Yeah, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to give a like and comment if you want. And that's it for me. Take care, guys.